What is up, YouTube? My name is Eben, and today on The Edge we'll be featuring Gliscor. This card got not too much attention from Roaring Skies, and that's kind of a shame because, like the previous Gliscor that we mentioned briefly some time ago, this one has a pretty unique kind of niche for fighting types in general. It's got 90 HP and a 1 energy retreat, which isn't necessarily that great. Its water type weakness, well, there's only really one water type that matters, so it's not necessarily that big of a problem, but that one water type is Seismitoad EX, which makes him pretty common. But what does make this card alluring and what is worthy of attention is his first attack, Rock Slide. It's 1 colorless energy for 20 damage, and it deals 20 damage to 2 of your opponent's benched Pokemon. So that's 1 colorless energy for 60 damage, essentially. It's spread out between multiple targets, but that's not necessarily a bad thing. 60 damage for 1 colorless energy, that's something only Rayquaza EX really can do, other than this guy, which is pretty impressive. He does have a slash attack, which we can use to deal a little more damage later by adding a fighting energy, but it's relevant to mention that if you're not really thinking about his slash attack, you can actually combine this guy with any deck type, and he doesn't necessarily have to be in a fighting type deck. Of course, fighting type decks do offer some really tempting additions to really heap on the damage, like Strong Energy. This allows our Rock Slide to go up to 40 damage, and then 20 to 2 benched Pokemon. And of course with Fighting Stadium we have the possibility very quickly to talk about dealing 60 damage, and we could also talk about 80 with Muscle Band. I mean, all that's pretty straightforward. Lots and lots of damage, lots of ways to rack it up, lots of ways to boost it. You get the idea. And of course there are other stadiums that Gliscor could combine with very well indeed as well, such as Training Center and whatnot, that could give him more HP, give him a little more longevity. But this card's about racking up damage and making things easier for other Pokemon. Of course, we can't really talk about Gliscor without mentioning Korrina, of course, who can go get Gliscor for you once you've already got the Gligar on the first turn, kind of making sure that you can evolve to him just as quickly as possible. And she gets you the item, which, if you're lacking energy, could always be the Professor's Letter to go get a fighting type energy. Or if you've got that, which isn't too hard to imagine, you can go instead and get the Muscle Band. Lots of ways to really rack up and very quickly, very efficiently deal lots of damage, spread early damage, and hit benched Pokemon that might not want to get hit, of course. And if we're going to talk about comboing and possible uses, we also have to talk about cards like these. And there are others as well. But cards like Mega Gal ADX and even Team Magma's Groudon, to mention something a little more unusual but also a fighting type, we're just talking about Pokemon in general that like to deal damage to the bench. And that's kind of what Gliscor is about. He's about racking up heavy damage on early Pokemon, and, which is good because you can help prevent setup. I mean, Gliscor, it's not hard to imagine, could easily 2-hit KO a Xerneas, preventing more than one Geomancy from going off in the first place. But also, tagging lots of things with damage. In some ways, he even rivals the Bats. The infamous Golbat and Crobat line from Phantom Forces that like to spread damage themselves. But this guy can actually offer you a lot more when you consider all the other factors that are in here. I mean, he can even tag a whole bench full of damage with Rock Slide inside of 3 turns, or of course pile it up much more heavily on other Pokemon. This makes cards like Lysander a lot more threatening as well. So anyway, that's the card, just one that needed some attention, even though a lot of the cards you can combine it with are pretty common and pretty known. We have to remember that these are meant as utility, and what we put that utility on is important. So anyway, until next time, like, comment, subscribe, check me out on Twitter. My link is down below, and I will see you next time.